Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2 of the CLD-53 rehab, we'll call it. Tonight we're going to be replacing the belt, cleaning or replacing the grip ring on the spindle motor down here. And last is greasing the laser assembly rails, the tray, pretty much anywhere that has probably old grease on it that is causing issues. In the last video we had an issue near the end of the video where you could see, I think the laser was skipping around a little bit. Could be a tilt issue, could be just a grease issue. So we're going to hopefully figure that out tonight as far as the maintenance. So let's get into it. First thing we're going to want to do is just turn on the unit. And I've got the overhead view right now. Nothing cool going on in the front, just we're going to eject the tray. And we actually have these two retainer screws right here and right here. So since the tray is ejected, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pull power. The tray is sticking out, but just in case my screwdriver touches anything, I don't want to short something out. So we're going to pop these two screws out. Alright, and then this clip is kind of hidden. It's hidden under this bracket, but you basically pull it. I think that on this model, that's the only one. So you just pull it this way, and then the tray just slips right out. So below there, it's kind of backwards, this model is. We're going to have to take some screws out. First thing I want to do is I want to get to the belt. It's the most basic thing. You pretty much always want to change it if you get a new player in. Just because they do fail. So here's our spindle motor that we're going to clean first, and then we'll see if we need to do anything else on. I'm going to try and just undo these screws on this board. Then we might be able to take this bracket out without taking the board out. And that'll get us belt access. So you can kind of see the belt. It's right under the board here. Nothing super fancy, just pull it. So, that's our old belt. I have a couple sizes. I have an SCQ 4.0, and then I have a 3.8 as well. And we're just going to kind of compare them in size. So, you can see the difference. The old one is pretty stretched out. This is the new one. We're going to go ahead and stick the 4.0 on. I think it'll do just fine. So there is a small head that you're going to loop the belt around. And then you put that around the other part around the bigger pulley, and the belt's installed. Pretty easy. So get rid of that one. The next thing we have to do is we're going to get some rubbing alcohol, and we'll go ahead and clean the spindle motor. We're just going to take a couple Q-tips here, plenty of rubbing alcohol in there, and then take one hand, kind of gently spin the spindle motor around, and as you turn, you want to spin your Q-tip around. Depending on how quick it gets dirty, if it gets dirty, you're going to change out the sides. So that's pretty dirty. And I find normally 2 to 3 passes is the best. Now the trick is if this thing keeps getting dirty, this Q-tip, then that could mean you have a breakdown on your rubber pad. So we're going to keep an eye on that, because by this point we should be getting closer to clean. Alright, we're going to let that dry. And the way I like to do this is, yes, the Q-tips are dirty. I want to give it a fair shake. I'm going to let this dry out and spin up a disc. If I still having trouble, then no problem. We'll change out the grip ring. So let's move on to re-greasing the laser assembly rail that it goes along. So we're going to do this side A one, and then we're going to pop this cover off, and we're going to flip it over, and then that'll let us grease the underside of it. So what I like to use is white lithium grease. It's Lucas oil, and never had a problem with it. Works great. There's plenty to go around in this thing. It'll last you forever. So I'm pouring out the grease right now, but first thing we're going to want to do is clean up the old grease that exists on the rails. To get to the laser assembly, we're going to have to pop out this top part. Just put that to the side for now. There's a little set screw, Phillips set screw right here. You can see it. That we'll go ahead and take out. So we just want to balance that laser as delicately as we can. Let's get a Q-tip. So I'm just cleaning this kind of off to the side. I don't want to do it over the boards or anything like that. Don't want to just dropping stuff on anything. It feels like there is no grease on this rail. This thing probably was neglected. This is slippery. You got it wrong. There's a small opening and a big opening on the end of this, and I had it right the first time. Let's go ahead and put the laser assembly back on. That would help. There's a little catch on this side on the laser assembly, little notch that you want to make sure gets in there first. There. Actually, while we have this out, let's clean that up too. We feel good about that part. Now we're going to get this back part. That's the where the laser goes when it flips. We want to make sure that that gets covered as well. So we're first going to clean it. There's a little release right here that you flick, and then you can get better access to that. So, to recap, we've got the underside of this rail greased. We've got this greased, back here greased, and I should say they're also cleaned as well before we put grease on them. So that brings us back to side B. We're also going to need this to be cleaned up. You can see the grease right there. That's pretty bad. The other thing we can do, we can go ahead and pull pull this screw, pull this guide rail, just like we did on side A. Kind of crazy there's no electronics or micro switch. Well, I guess there's micro switches maybe up here, but there's really not much going on side B. So we're going to hold it by the non-white side, because that is where the laser assembly first comes onto. It really doesn't touch this far end here. Lost my way for a second there. Just kind of checking this out. Can't see anything else obvious. So there are some places that still need to be cleaned up, but for testing purposes, I think we're okay to turn this thing back on. We'll get this thing reinstalled. We'll get the brace reinstalled. Test disc, pop it in, and we'll see what happens. So I heard a little bit more that noise, that whoosh, when the disc first spun up. And that is normally due to the grip ring, because it's trying to get that grip as soon as it spins up the disc, and it just can't. So, alright, well, looks like we're still spinning backwards, or skipping backwards, rather. So we're going to have to troubleshoot that. Well, we went over the internal mechanisms and how to clean and lubricate them, and I kind of want to move to some other parts. And that would include the tray, it would include the gears, the loading mechanism gears, because they're just as important as everything else. You have to keep everything cleaned up and lubricated to keep it working right. So we're going to Open this up, remove the tray, and that will give us access to a few other things. This right here is pretty easy to remove. Just pops right out, and it gets pretty gummy, as you can see. So that's one of the things we're going to clean. We're going to clean where the roller sits in, right here, and then also the gears. I'll go to the overhead view for that, but we'll clean the internal gears as well. Roller is clean. Just want to take a look at the gears, make sure that they are in good shape. Let's go ahead and clean these out as well. So I got it zoomed in a little bit closer. We're going to take this plate off. That's the underside of it. Ooh. Back to the paper towel. So we got the majority of the grease out. Just gonna kind of clean it with a little bit of alcohol here. Just moving this over. That indicates that the tray has popped in. So we're just making sure the action works. Everything slides around nicely. Perfect. Onto the cleaning the tray. This tray is pretty gross, as you can see. So what I like to do first, I like to take the rails off. Right here. Okay, this is pretty clean. There's probably a couple more spots I can hit. You know why it sounds like that? Because there's no grease. Now that we have the tray cleaned up, we're going to go ahead and put it back in. Turn the power on. We're going to open it. There are metal tabs you have to hit to get that tray in there, and then you want to push it in nice and even. Voila. Finally, let's do a test disc. After all that maintenance. Uh-oh. It's just a little crooked. I'll fix that tray. We're spinning. So the next area we're going to focus on with this player is the skipping. We are playing discs, but they are skipping backwards. So it's going to be removing the audio board, which is all the way at the bottom of the player, and recapping that in the hopes that something has gone wrong there. So stay tuned for the next video. Alright, I wanted to post a little addendum to this. So there's a couple things going on. I wanted to explain my theory on the board and also what's going on. So I put a CLV disc in there originally. This is a cab disc. And so we're going to try and play this one. The issue I'm experiencing is anything with analog audio is fine. Anything cav is fine. It's the CLV stuff and the digital audio that seems to skip backwards. So I want to take a look at the digital board. I've tapped it while playing, and yeah, it just doesn't act right. So we're gonna make sure this doesn't skip backwards. Yeah, just plays right through. And the tray was bothering me too, the click, click, click when it was opening and closing. and that ended up being a ribbon cable that I did not tamp back down when I put the faceplate on. So that issue is resolved. Let's go ahead and stop this. Silence. Okay, now I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.